Well, here we are. It is Friday, August 16th, 2024. And of course, this is the weekly video. We do these every Friday. We take a look at the Asian art market, the textile market occasionally. Sometimes we talk about furniture, but we're heavily focused on Asian art on this series that we do. And a fair bit has been going on. Oh, one of the things I wanted to mention was some of you noticed that we've been fooling around with some new software, and we changed the introduction music to the video for the last couple of weeks because of something we were trying to figure out, and I got some emails. Somebody commented below the video, put the old music back. We're going to do it this week. As you noticed, it was back, but we were experimenting with something to do with audio on the system, and wanted to know how it would do. At any rate, we put it back the way it was. Okay, and another bit of news that's sort of interesting for those of you that have signed up over on the Patreon side. We this week we started. We're going to be doing a series. I think we're going to be delving more and more into videos for there, because it's really not always about Chinese art, but other types of antiques. And I posted a video the other day about material culture and the importance of it, and what it teaches us, and how in today's world there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of knowledge floating around about the history of man and his evolution and so forth, and it all seems to get lost in that soup of social networks and all this. We've all heard these and all seen cases where history and facts are misrepresented because of current political things and all that. And I talk in the video a bit about why it's important to appreciate and understand objects from the past, and how to why we should view them in the context, in the period that they were done. And it struck a chord with everybody. There were a lot of you that replied. These are just some of the replies. I put the video up yesterday, I think it was, and we just got flooded with replies. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting conversation, back and forth, very civil, nobody fighting and screaming and yelling. Anybody that does that will be immediately removed and thrown off the Patreon. I don't like that sort of stuff. We don't tolerate conflict conversations too much over on the forum either. There's enough of that in the world. If you want to fight with someone, go over to Reddit or someplace and start an argument. But here we want to have discussions, and this was a very interesting one. We're going to be adding on to it and building it out and doing more and more of them on the Patreon account for those of you that are interested. All right, but all that aside, there were a lot of other things going on this week too, I have to say. A couple of things that were going on. I want to take a look at some auctions that are coming up. We're going to get into, stick around, we're going to get into the results from the Leland sale. Just finished a few minutes ago, and they had some exceptional results, and I want to go through them, and we can take a look and see how things went. And the Bonhams kerfuffle from a couple of weeks ago to do with the Sydney operation, where I said they were selling fakes, which they were, and Bonhams, apparently somebody at Bonhams saw the video or heard about it, or something happened, and a number of those lots that we discussed were withdrawn and removed from the sale. So kudos for that. But we're going to talk about that a bit more. And Bonhams does have a sale coming up in Hong Kong that looks very good. It's a collection, mostly Tang and Han wares. We're going to be going through those lots. There's some interesting bronzes in there, well described. And all that, very different than Sydney. Sydney needs to take a look at Hong Kong and see how to put together an auction. All right. Hopefully somebody there might reach out to them and say, this is what you have to do, and maybe they'll do the same at Skinner Boston, get their act together. At any rate, here we are with this. This is coming up at the Clars Gallery auction. We posted these over on the global member pages this week, as well as access through the Patreon side. And there's this. This is a really, really pretty vase. It caught my eye. Initially, I wasn't sure when it was made, because the photograph was small. But once I enlarged it, I realized this is a very nice late Qing to Republic vase, and a very unusual vase, and a large one. I'll give you the height in a minute. I think it's 25 or so inches in height, or 24 inches. But beautifully decorated, nicely done. And this is not a modern vase. I'm going to show you there it is up close. This all is very nice work. This is beautifully painted, exceptionally well. And it's something that I think is head and shoulders above the typical late Qing and Republic pieces. And it's atypical in its layout and design and so forth. I really like the way it was done. I love these guys, these scholars sitting around at a table, having some food, being served tea, and practicing calligraphy. It's just a really interesting scene with this beautiful light blue enamel background, and then you have these bladder lamps on posts here and so forth. It's a very, very attractive vase. In all regards, and it looks to be in excellent condition. And here is I'll show you the bottom of it. There it is. And that's a very classic late Qing, early Republic vase. I think this is more likely late Qing than Republic. I think it was probably made around 1890 to 1900 or so. At the very end, maybe at the very end of the Guangxu period. I don't think it's really a true Republic vase, but it's a very nice vase. Even if it was made slightly after, but I don't think it was. And it measures, it's a beautiful piece. It measures 33 inches in height. This is a big vase, and the estimate is very low. The estimate is crazy low. The sale is on the 26th of August. This vase should sell for $2,000 or $3,000 anyway, right off the top. It's a fantastic thing. Really is. I think it's one of the most interesting vases I've seen in a while. Also on the sale is this, a pair of very nice Kutani Meiji period dishes. Very unusually done, but very good color, meticulously painted. There's some very nice artwork on this, very tightly drawn, wonderful facial expressions, and I like the almost. It's not Rococo, but the scroll. They took the famous octopus scroll that you see on lots of blue and white wares from Arita, and they sort of spiked it. They altered it a little bit to turn it into just like scrolling vines, but it's very reminiscent of that. And then it's overlaid rather with butterflies. It's a very, very pretty plate with a shaped rim, and they're riding hobby horses and so forth. That's all great, and there's Mark Kutani on the back. All right, and these are quite lovely. The estimate is $100 to $200. It's already got a bid. I expect they'll bring quite a bit over that. They should bring $300 or $400 for the pair of them, but very, very attractive. All right, and they also have this very nice looking lacquer box. They're dating it to mid-Qing dynasty. I'm not sure what they mean by mid-Qing, what years they're thinking about, but I suspect it was made between 1800 and 1850. But a very nicely carved lacquer dragon box. This is a small table box. It's like 4 by 4 inches, but very good quality, very nice condition all the way around. I didn't see any bites out of it or cracks or anything. There's not a lot of wear to the bottom, but it is absolutely a nice old one, and it looks good. There's a little wear on that edge. That's about it. So it's in general in pretty fine condition. The estimate is $800 to $1,200, which is I think pretty reasonable. It's funny though, they estimated this at $800 to $1,200, but they estimated that wonderful vase at less. I'm not quite sure why they did it. It may be sometimes it's the consigners that get pushy about it, and they claim this came out of a New England collection. I've never seen it before, but there are a lot of collections in New England, certainly. So, at any rate, it's starting price of $400. It should bring $600 to $900 anyway. $800 to $1,200. $1,200 is a little high, but not impossible. Not impossible. It's a nice piece of lacquerware. And then this, I think I've mentioned this in the past, but this sale is coming up in 2 days, and I wanted to remind everybody, if you looked at it, the Yosemite auction. It's on the Global and Patreon auction pages, but these are a very nicely done pair of late 18th century reticulated famille rose plates, and the reticulation you'll recognize. It was a thing that they often did with China trade blue and white wares, where they would make chestnut baskets in particular, and they would do reticulated dish, and then the basket itself would be reticulated in the same manner. This is very Chinese in taste. Very nice colors, beautiful colors, nice soft blue enamels. It looks to be in good condition. The backs of them look absolutely fine for late 18th century. I think these are nice looking, and they're decorated on the back as well. Very, very attractive. They're estimated $1,000 to $2,000. I think that's a little stiff, but not impossible. But I think a more realistic price would probably be around $400 to $400 a plate, somewhere in there. But if you want some really, really pretty plates, these are it. And they're decent size. They're about 10 inches in diameter. They're not 6 or 7 inches. They're dinner plate size, basically, 10 inches in diameter. And then over here, a couple of things that sold. These were the Arity auction. They didn't have a lot of stuff that was great, but they had this. This was a very nice late Qing Shifu decorative robe with dragons on it. Very, very pretty. It looked to be in excellent condition. The skirt across the bottom was very well developed and done, and so forth. Pull it in a bit more. There you go. And you can see the colors are still vibrant. The reds are still strong. The blues are good. The greens are good. The yellows haven't faded. All the colors you want to look for that are very prone to fading. This doesn't seem to have any of it. The metallic thread collar here is all in good shape. There's just one tiny little separation that can be fixed. And there's a couple of loose spots up here on the top above the rod. You can see some wear, and somebody who's handy with a needle and thread or a store can fix that in a jiffy. It was very, very attractive robe, and it ended up selling for $8,100 plus the premium. And the premium was 28%, so it closed out at around $10,000, which is the price range these days for those. And this was something that was in the sale, the same sale. That was an absolute steal. I'm not sure what happened. It was only estimated at $200 to $500. It sold for $155. This is a good size vase. It had no cracks or damage to it, and it measured 17 inches in diameter. Maybe people looked at it and thought it was a small vase, 8 or 10 inches. This was a foot and a half, basically a foot and a half tall, a little over a foot and a half tall. Very nicely done, late 19th century with very rich cocoa ground, underglazed blue decoration, and it looked good. There might have been a minor nick here and there or something, but I have no idea why this went for so little money. Okay, it had a nick under the rim, but that isn't going to push down the price that much. We've seen these dark brown examples in the past. They typically sell for very good money, and somehow this one slipped completely through the cracks. In perfect condition, this was probably an $800 to $1,000 vase in today's market with a little chip under the rim, which is easily repairable. Probably it should have brought somewhere in the $500 to $700 range, I think. I think this was a great buy, a really good buy. I hope one of you bought it. And interestingly, it had this white relief work with these flowers coming off in white on the upper part, which is rather attractive. So that was a very, very good buy. And it just shows you that you can have an auction where one thing does, like the robe did very, very well, and then later in the sale, something happens and a bargain goes by. And this is why, I know I've beaten the expression to death. Leave a bid. You never know. And then this I think was an absolute bargain. And I think it was because of the weight, probably, the difficulty in getting it shipped. I talked about these last week. I thought they were wonderful pair of carved, probably limestone or marble. I suspect they were limestone, but I contacted Stair Gallery. They never got back to me. I don't know why. I just wanted to know, is it limestone or is it made of limestone or is it marble or what's the stone? Do you have any idea? And nobody bothered to reply, which is kind of too bad. Because if it was if they assured me that it was limestone, I probably would have placed a bid on it and then tried to figure out a way to ship it. But that can be done. Those things can be. You get a freight company to go in there and pick it up and bring it to New England for $400 or $500. It's just coming from New York. I didn't bother because they didn't bother to reply. If you run an auction house and somebody contacts you looking for information, reply to them. Don't ignore it because I would have left a bigger bid than this brought. It ended up selling for $2,000, and I probably would have left $4,000 or $5,000. Any rate, that's their problem. It's too bad. This was a nice thing. It was 28 inches tall. This was big. I was hoping. The reason I wanted it was we're doing some stuff in our gardens. I was going to put this in the garden. Any rate, then over to this. This is coming up in a couple of days. Also, this is happening at Amaro's. Out in, where are they located? In Sarasota, Florida. This very, very pretty pair of paintings. This is just a reminder. I just love these. I think they're great. They're framed and they're large. These are pretty big paintings and beautifully done. And right now they've got 28 bidders watching them. They've got 4 bids. They're probably going to sell somewhere in the $700 to $1,000 range, maybe somewhere around there. But if you like China trade paintings, these are good ones. These are really good ones. I don't know what dealer sold them to the present owner or to the people that had them, but they came from a top dealer. They had to, probably London. And then this is something I want to talk about. This was in a sale out in Mark Lewis Weishoff Estate Liquidations. Don't know who he is, but it was a past lot. And one of our inquiry people contacted me because he reached back to them and bought this lot for $2,000, including premium. And he was wondering if I thought it was a good deal. And I said, well, initially when I saw it, I thought it was just the 3 pieces. And then I read the description, 22 pieces. This was a great buy. And this is the problem of the auction house. The auction house should have included in the background a sea of plates to demonstrate they were all matching. It's all from the same service. It's all Armorial. You'd have to look it up in Howard's to see what the crest is. But these were top quality, late 18th century, possibly early 19th century China trade plates, with this very, very elaborate and very well-developed outer border. The enamels were in great condition. They had raised edge work on them, on all the plates. One of the plates had a repair. But other than that, the rest of them looked fine, other than a few minor, insect bites to the rims, that sort of thing, little nibbles. But this was spectacular platter. It was a great-looking platter, and to my mind, this is a $800 to $1,200 platter not that many years ago by itself. And this was 22 pieces, 21 all in good condition. That means the buyer here was able to buy the platter and all the plates for about $90 a piece. This was a very, very, very nice buy. The estimate was way too high. The estimate was $5,000 to $7,000. But had they done a better job photographing it, I could see this set bringing $3,500 to $4,500. He bought it for $2,000, and I told him, bravo, it's a good buy. It's very finely done, very good condition. If you take a look, always whenever you have memorial pieces, pull in and look at the decoration in the center, because the center is where all the action is if the dinner service was used much, and you'll see knife cuts and slices and chips and wears to the enamel. This service was meticulously kept. This is a very finely kept service. I see absolutely no wear any place on this, and it's absolutely old. So it was a very good thing to buy, very good quality. And now over to the Bonhams thing. This was something, and I didn't mean to berate them for it, but boy, it's frustrating. If you're running an auction on the other side of the world, and you got people like me in America and England and France and other places looking at auctions, you have to be able to rely on the auction house to provide you all the information that they possibly can, so you don't make a mistake and end up hating them. All right, and the people in Sydney don't seem to get the memo on that. And this is how they've done. I've complained about Bonhams Sydney before. I think they're just lazy. I really do. I think they're apathetic. They're indifferent, or they don't know what they're doing. And I'm just going to say it. And Bonhams needs to send somebody to Sydney to teach them how to run auctions, because they don't know how. I'll just say it. They could then send them on to Boston to work with Skinner to get them squared away, because their other operations are great. They got a nice sale coming up in Hong Kong I'm going to talk about. It's like 2 different companies. I don't get the lack of consistency. And this sale did okay in some areas. The Tianmen Lu collection book set, I think, went for a very, very reasonable price. Sold for $2,400, including premium. And the Australian dollar is about 66 cents to the U.S., so it was about 2.4 times 6, about $1,500 for the set of books. The big book on the left was just ceramics of the world. It's a coffee table throwaway. Nobody really cares about those. But the Tianmen Lu collection is a gem of a set, and somebody obviously bought it for that. This is what you're paying for right here. These 2 volumes. It's a legendary collection with great information, good books. And then the Bauer collections, I think these sold fairly reasonably, $1,700 including premium Australian, so about $1,100 or $1,200 for all 4 of them. Very reasonable price. Not a giveaway, but it was very reasonable. If you go to ABE Books or Amazon and look up any of these volumes, you'll see what they sell them for, and you do the math and you realize these went sort of to the wholesale price, which is fine if you buy them. Now, on to the problem lots. All right, the first one is this. This is the blue and white dragon vase. And as you can see, it was withdrawn from the sale. It was taken out of the auction, I assume because somebody pointed out to them, or they saw the video that we did on it and said it was no good. All right, you all remember that. And then there was the blue and white animal mask vase, the Who. And on this aspect, I said, it's got a beautiful glaze. It looks very good. But there's no information. There's one line on the bottom as a description. It says 19 centimeters high, Guangzhou 4-character mark, 20th century. That is about as bad a description as you can possibly write. That is just the laziest ass description I've ever seen. They should have had a picture of the bottom of it. They should have had some nice pictures of close-up of this piece, because in this picture, this looks pretty good. It looks rather nice, but I would love to have seen what the base of it looked like. I would love to have seen what it looked like inside. I'd like to see what the mask handles look like. How are they glazed, and so forth? Is it nice and even, or what is it? They didn't include any of it. At any rate, some people obviously got some images of it, and they were convinced it was okay, because it sold for 4,182 Australian, which is around $2,500, and it measured about 8 inches in height. It was a nice small one. Judging by that, I'm assuming it was probably an early Qing example. A late Qing, early Republic. Excuse me, early Republic example, but very fine quality. All right, but this is not how you do it. And then you come over here, those Dowsai duck cups. And you may remember these were just little tiny bowls next to a box. That was the whole listing. No information, no nothing, and they withdrew those. So obviously they looked at them a little more carefully and realized these are a problem, and they just dated them as with Daoguan marks, but later. And this is a very the term "but later" should never be used and left at that. All right, if you say "but later," then say likely early Republic, or we believe early Republic, or late Qing, or something. But saying "but later" leaves it wide open, right up through to today. They could be mean, in a slippery way by saying they're later. Well, what, 2021? How late? Really dumb. Ditto for this, Yongchen 6-character mark. This was the Clair de Lune, the little footed pot. Here it is. Same problem. No information. Scant description. They actually gave it. They talked about fitted rosewood stand and a box. Got actually more typeface than the description of the actual piece. Again, that got yanked out of the sale. And then the last one was that very ridiculous blue glazed with gilt decorated lotus pot. And here they just said Qinlong 6-character mark. They didn't even try to date it, and they know darn well that was a brand new piece. And this is the kind of stuff I expect from Roswell, from the folks down at Eden and Lauren Galleries, not from Bonhams. And I'm sorry, they got to get their crap together. That's all there is to it. And if they want to call and talk to me about it, that's fine. I got an email from somebody. I wasn't sure if they worked at Bonhams or not, but they were sort of annoyed with me for what I said. I'm sorry, I'm not taking it back. All right, these auction houses are just getting lazy in some places. All right, now moving along. This is the Bonhams sale that's coming up in Hong Kong. This is what I was talking about. This is a nice looking sale. It's good stuff. It's sort of a medium price range, focusing heavily on Han through the Tang Dynasty. There's a few later pieces, but a lot of Han and Tang stuff. If you're a Han and Tang buyer, you want to check the sale out. It's a good one. Very nice, classic Tang Dynasty footed plate. Here it is. Looks fine. The feet are all intact. There they are. Very nice piece of pottery. Good colors. Very, very nice colors. It's 11 inches in diameter. It's got a reasonable estimate of 20 to 30,000 Hong Kong, which is $4,000 or $5,000, $3,000 to $5,000, something like that. $1,900 opening bid, and there's no reserve. No reserve. Lot sold without reserve. If you could buy this for $1,900, you got a steal on your hands. I think it'll go for more, but we'll see. We'll see. It's listed on Live Auctioneers. It's on the Global and the Patreon pages currently. And then there's this. It's very nice seated Buddha, Tang Dynasty. The gilding, still a lot of gilding on it. Nicely done. It's not a huge one. It's about 5 inches in height, as a lot of Tang bronzes are. And somebody made a very nice stand for it, so it fits into it just right. Very nicely done wooden stand. Obviously, this is what collectors do. Here it is. But it looks absolutely fine. Estimated at, what is the estimate on that? 60 to 100,000 Hong Kong, or, that works out to what? About $8 to 12 or $13,000. That's certainly in the wheelhouse. It could bring more. And then over to this. This is my favorite thing in the sales. This autumn period shoe culture tray, spring and autumn period, as they refer to them. It's a nice early one. I like the patina on it. I like the shape of it. It's fairly large. I'll get to the size in a minute. It's kind of surprising. This is not a 3 or 4 inch long tray. The handles are all in good shape. It looks fine. You want to see if the handles have been, or any of the figures supporting it, these little food lions carrying it on their backs, if they've been reattached. But if they aren't, this is a really great thing. True Culture with 2 X-rays, a box, 20 inches across. Like I said, this is a good size bronze. And the estimate, I think, is very, very fair. It's got an opening, sort of a starting bid of $15,000, which is, I think, should be easily attainable. And it's estimated at $15,000 to $20,000. And it should, I wouldn't be surprised if it brought more. I think this was a very nice piece of bronze. And you don't see a lot of spring and autumn period bronzes, and you certainly don't see a lot of things from the shoe culture. So see where this goes. But it's a nice thing. And over to this. This I thought was great. A set of 7 acrobat figures from probably the late Ming Dynasty in turquoise glaze. These are great. You don't see these occasionally you see tumblers and you see pottery figures like this, but this is a set of them, and they all look like they're in good shape. They're all rather hilarious, very nicely done. People that have collect Chinese paintings have seen tumblers depicted in their paintings and things like that. Well, here's some pottery figures of them. They're very nice. And they are, how big are these? These are decent size. They're like 4 or 5 inches, 4 to 11 inches in height, apparently. These are apparently good size. 7 in total. They were bought in Hong Kong before 2000. They're being offered without reserve. They got an opening. They got one bid at 385 US right now, according to that, or 3,000 Hong Kong because of the exchange rate. And they're estimated at $20,000 to $30,000. So the estimate on them is basically $2,500 to $3,500, which I think is very, very reasonable. But they're being sold without reserve. So, they could go for $700. Who knows? Something you want to check out. It looks like a good little auction. And there's a lot of material. There's about 100 lots on the sale. It's one, as far as I can tell, it looks like a single owner collection, but all nice things. Bonhams, and this sale is taking place on the 27th of August. You got 11 days until the sale happens, so you have plenty of time to get a hold of them and get information. I would urge you, if you collect objects from that period, from basically the Han through the Tang, you might pick up some nice things. They also have some gilt bronze scroll weights in there and some other things. So it's a good looking sale. And then hopping along over to the Leland Little sale, we've been paying sort of attention to it because there aren't that many of the sales around. And this one was rather nice. And I spoke with Kendall, who runs the auctions, and thought it looked very, very good. She was pretty optimistic about it. And in the end, I think the sale did great. I think this sale was very successful. And for a lot of reasons, and we'll go through them. And when you think about how they do their sales, and Bronx down in that area does the same thing. They all do a good job. They're generous with information. They reply to emails if you ask them, and they lots of stuff, lots of information. Here you have they had this listed as a Japanese. It was changed to Chinese, but they forgot to change it down here. This is a Chinese planter, but very, very nice. I thought it was beautiful, with a dragon on it, in very, very good condition. Nice color, 19th century, maybe early to mid 19th century, but maybe late 19th. They're very hard to date without picking them up and looking at them, but a beautiful example. It did really well. It sold for, it had 93 bidders watching it, which is a lot. And it ended up selling for $3,000 plus the premium of 25%. So it ended up going for about $3,800, something like that. But it was a very, very nice planter. It was good size, 16 inches in diameter. So it was a 1.5 feet wide, and it came with an 8-inch tall stand, and the pot itself was 9 inches tall. But very, very nice. That was a good looking thing. And then a lot of this came from a Japanese family. And then over to this. This is the big bronze, the outdoor dragon fountain. And I got a hold of them, and I asked them because they do some of their own shipping. They don't ship these; they're too big. But I wondered if they had a shipping rate for this, because I was thinking of getting this for my yard to go along with the stair thing if I could get them both. And I had a plan; it didn't work out. At any rate, I did place a bid on this, but it wasn't quite there. So I took a shot at it anyway. But this was a very, very attractive bronze. And it came from a Japanese family who brought it over. And it was in their yard in America, apparently, for a generation or so. And it's just a great looking thing. Just a great looking thing. And in the end, it did very well. It brought $7,500 plus the buyer's premium, so ended up around $10,000. But not a lot of money for what that was. That was a good thing. And the same goes for the lanterns. The lanterns did very well. These stone lanterns that everybody loves, often they just bring 1,000 to 1,500, 2,000. In person, these must have been quite good. But they had a lot of moss and growth on them from being outdoors for a long time, which is the value. A lot of the value is the surface that these stone lanterns develop over time. And these had a beautiful mossy patina on them. They were wonderfully carved. The details were good. The volutes were nice and so forth. And ended up going for $4,200 plus premium. And the other one sold for $3,200 plus premium. This was the one that had the little Buddha in the bottom that I liked so much. I thought that was great. And again, they both did very, very well. Very, very well. But good things always do well. And then there was the double happiness bid. I had put a bid on this just for the fun of it because they mistakenly dated this as late 20th century. These weren't. These were late 19th century. And that may have been a typo that they just missed. And they were languishing at around at about $50 when I dropped the bid on it. And then all of a sudden it took off, and they went up to $1,200 plus the premium, so around $1,500 for the pair. But these were good-sized double happiness vases, and it was a pair. And they were probably done in the 1870s or 80s. They were 17 inches tall, as I recall, which is very nice. Yeah, 17 inches. They came from a collection down there. These were 13 plus premium. So around, that works out to what, about $1,500, $1,600 all in, which is $700 a vase for a 17-inch vase. That's not a bad price. That's a good value. And you have a pair, and they're good looking, and they'll go everywhere. And then over to the Ming jar I liked. This really took off, and it was. They generally don't bring this much money. Many of you have been collecting for a while. I've seen these before, and they've had them. I've had them. I've sold them, and they typically sell somewhere in the $1,600 to $2,200 range. But as I said last week, the coloring on this and the artwork on this one is head and shoulders above most other examples that you see. So you never know where it's going to go. Well, we found out where it went. It went to $5,000, including the premium. There you have it. $4,000 was the hammer price on these, but it was because of the quality. It's always about the quality. Quality. You could have two jars. They look ostensibly the same, identical. One is just a bit better, and bang, it takes off. We saw the same thing a few months ago. There were two plates of the same exact pattern, export plates, and one of them had vibrant, strong, wonderful colors, and the other one was a little bit more muted, not quite as bright and energetic, and sold for a third less than the other. One sold for around $5,000 or $6,000. The other one sold for just a little under $4,000. It's the same kind of thing here. If you have a well-known type, they're fairly common, the shape, but they're not common in this quality of decoration. And that's what pulled all the money for this. That's what drove it. And then the Blanc de Chine pieces all did fine. This was that very rare, based on a early bronze form. Ended up going for $2,000 plus premium, so about $2,500. Tangxi period, had a little repair on it, but a rare type. And then the cup, again, sold for $2,000 plus premium. And these are rare. This was a wonderful example. We talked about it last week. It's got this great little crab in the bottom. The spout was in good condition. Overall, it was an excellent shape, a little bit of wear to the feet. Tangxi period, $2,000 plus the premium. And then moseying along over to the planter. I left a bid on this. I absolutely love this. As you can see, we seem to be focusing on things for plants. I thought this would have been a great planter to put in the yard. I left a bid on it. I got smoked. Again, 93 bidders on this lot, but it was beautifully painted. Very fine enameling on it. Lovely example, and it looked to be in good condition. It was missing the under tray, but it went right up there, $1,400 plus the premium. So you're in at around $1,700 for it. But a very nice example, late Qing to Republic period. And then over here to this was another piece that I had left a bid on that I liked so much. I didn't do very well, did I? This was a great piece of Arita ware. and it's unusual because of the patterning. And this came from the Japanese family that owned, I believe, that owned the lanterns and the copper fountain. This is a zodiac plate, and these are very, very, very rare in Arita works. It's late Edo to Meiji period, 1850 to 1880, somewhere in there, but maybe a little before. It's very hard to tell without touching it, but spectacular quality and very unusual subject matter. Just absolutely great. And it was big. It was 19 inches in diameter. And there's the back of it with the Ming Chenghua mark, as they always put on them. But spurs everywhere, white blue line out near the foot, all that good stuff. Nicely decorated on the back with a cash symbol, and cash symbols and ribbons. Ended up going for $900 plus premium, so around $1,150 all done. Not terrible, not crazy, not a crazy price. I left about half that on there just to make sure it didn't fall through the cracks. When I left the bid on it, it was languishing it around at it was around 300, I think, 325 maybe. All right, and then lastly was this. I also left a bid on this just to keep track of it. I wasn't necessarily going to buy it, but I left a bid on it of $400 or $500. It went a little over that. If I could get it for that price, it would have been fine. I would have taken it absolutely. The reason I liked this so much, I see a lot of these China trade lacquer boxes. What was unusual about this one was, well, three things actually. Its shape, its size. This was a big one, and the top of it. The top of it was in red lacquer and gold lacquer with black in the back. The adding of the red just really set this thing off. And you'll notice the top. I always talk about the tops of these lacquer boxes. They're often in very, very poor condition because they tended to get dust and junk on them. And then people that had, people who cleaned their homes every week would dust and rub the top of this. Well, gilding in the tops of lacquer boxes don't like to be rubbed and cleaned with water and things every week as you dust the house, and it quickly wears through them. And they didn't do it on this one. The other thing that was very, very interesting about this box is that the top of it, the framing here, is a bamboo fence going around it. And that is a very interesting element that caught my eye when I was looking at it. And then the sides, the background, these lines are like like groves of bamboo. But just a very interesting box. And the size of it was quite good. The size of it was 14 inches long, so it was a good size sewing case, and it was fully fitted. Had everything in it. There you go. It didn't have everything, but it had most of what you'd expect to find in one of these. So it had the ivory fittings, and it had the little card sections and all that or for needles and whatnot. Just a great little complete box made probably between 1840 and 1860, but a lovely, lovely example. And it had its original wooden feet. The wooden feet on these are often knocked off due to use, and then they're replaced with metal ones or ball feet. We've all seen those. If you see them with the wooden feet, those are the original ones. They never made them with metal feet originally, as far as I know. I think they were always wooden. But very nice example, $650 plus premium. Somebody got a very good buy. This is still a good buy. If you're a collector, this was an excellent buy for its size because you ended up into it for about $750, $800. A dealer in a good gallery would charge $1,700 to $2,000 for this in a heartbeat. In London, they'd probably ask more, probably $2,500. But a very nice example, just the same. And the wholesale did fine. I couldn't see any fault in it. So good on them. I'm increasingly beginning to think this is the Chinese stuff. Focusing on for them is something fairly new, and I think if you've got some things you're thinking of selling, maybe get a hold of them. They're very approachable. Give it a shot. All right. Now over to what happened? On eBay last week, there were a bunch of things that sold. There wasn't a lot. It was a little thin. This week is very busy on eBay. If you use the newsletter page in the past here and there, go back and check it this week. This is what was on it last week. This week there's going to be twice as much stuff on here. There's a lot of stuff that, as always, as we predicted back in the late spring, that get into summer, things quiet down a little bit, and then as the summer moves along, mid-August or so, bang, things start to come back, listings start to appear, and that's happening. It's happening on Live Auctioneers. It's happening on the auction houses in New York and London. They're coming back from vacation. They're coming back from their summer breaks and so forth. And this week, there's quite a bit of material that's going to be on it. There's some interesting pieces. We'll look at a few of them. But last week there were some nice things. One of them was this garlic neck, copper red decorated vase, 19th century example. There's the bottom of it. There's the side of it. 1880s or so, somewhere in there. But it was a very nice one, and it was fairly good size, right? As I recall. Yeah, it was 36 centimeters in height without the stand. So that's about a 15 or 16-inch garlic neck. Most of these vases of this style and shape are under that height. So this was a particularly good size one, and it went for $2,000. And again, monochromes remain of great interest to a lot of people. Monochromes and silk seem to be one of the most persistent markets. People love monochromes. They didn't used to. They do now. It's sort of an interesting shift. And then there was this. It's very nice. We talked. I think I mentioned this last week. It's very nice Kangxi period Kangxi Amari decorated teapot. It looked to be in good shape. Went for $732. Good price for that. That was a good result. But it was a nice one, and it looked to be in good condition. And then over to this, the Jun bowl that I talked about. I thought this was awfully nice. I noticed a few people wondered, well, how can you tell between the old ones and the new ones because of the foot rims? Well, a lot of it is the patina on the foot. That is a great aid in looking at foot rims on these in particular. And if you look at this, it's got it almost looks like it has like an ambery oil on it. From time and use and so forth. And you can see all the little bits of handwork down in there, and then the glaze and this brown edge where the glaze meets, and the overall tone of the glaze itself. You have some discoloration from what happens in kilns when they get fired. There was no splash in this one. There was no purple splash. If this had had a purple splash in it, it probably would have doubled that price. But this was still a very nice example. And it pretty much brought, I think what we talked about would bring about $1,300, which is perfectly good. That's a fair price to pay. This was a nice piece of pottery. Very, very good. Excellent. And then moving along, what's going to be on there this week? This seller, Gemini, he's got a couple of nice bronzes up here. And this one, he's listed this as Ming. I think it's probably late Yuan, actually, judging by the work on it. You can argue about it. But it's about 9 or 10 inches tall. It looks like it's in very nice condition. It's got one bid. It ends in 9 days. This just went up last night. This will be on the newsletter page on bid amount this week. We've already set it aside. But this is a good-looking bronze. If you're looking for nice bronzes, you might want to check this one out from top to bottom. As I recall, he said it had a split or something in the metal up here. Well, it could have happened at the time it was made, and it could have been bumped at some point in its life. But it does. I don't care. The patina on this and the decoration on this is very, very attractive. I love the dragon masks on it, and it should get up there. It should get up to $1,500 to $2,000. It's a nice looking thing. And there's another one in there, a reticulated one, like an incense stick holder, that is also very, very good, that typically brings somewhere between $600 and $800. There's some nice pieces. And then there's this. If you're a Wang Shu Pu buyer, Gemini, this same seller, Gemini, he's got, I think, 8 or more Wang Shu Pu dishes. They look like they came out of a set. But these are real ones. These aren't the copies. These are authentic. Because they are copying these by the boatload these days. But there's the back of it. That's all you need to do. If you watch the video on foot rims, you know right away that's a 19th century foot. And the glaze over here with the little tiny bubbles here and there. All of that looks very, very good. How big are these? 7 inches, 7 3/4 inches, a little under 8 inches. These should bring $300 to $500 a piece, somewhere in there. And then the big planter, we looked at it last week. I just thought it was so beautiful. It's getting up there. It hasn't closed yet. It closes in 11 hours. It closes 2 a.m. Where is the seller in the UK? Oh, okay. News for the UK sellers. Don't close stuff at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's a bad idea. The sweet spot, according to eBay, and we've been selling on there for over 30 years, 25, 30 years, and I tend to agree with them. The sweet spot for opening and closing lots is between 7:30, 7 o'clock, and 9 o'clock Eastern U.S. time. That is the sweet spot. All right, because it's the right time period to help anybody from China. They're over there buying first thing in the morning. They can place a bid and get involved. In America, of course, across the country, European buyers on eBay are nowhere near the percentage of bidders that you have in the United States and China. All right, and closing a lot at 2 in the morning, it'll probably do fine because a lot of people use sniping programs. But don't close them at 2 in the morning. And Ruface, I'm kind of surprised. I thought he usually closes sales at better times. 2 o'clock in the morning is around 8 o'clock in the morning in England, which is even there is an awkward time. I would suggest I would suggest if you're selling in the UK, have your lots closed between 7 and 9 Eastern US time. It's a good central time period. All right, but it's a good looking pot. I'm not knocking him. He gets great things. He's a good seller. And that's a nice decoration. And I think this will probably go up another 1,000 or 2 before it closes. All right, and then this just went up also. This is nice. This is Decor Art says this in Connecticut. This is it's a Republic jar, but beautifully done. He doesn't appear to have its original lid, but it's very, very pretty, and it's very, very prettily decorated. There's the mark on the bottom. That's a factory mark from the Republic period. And you have some script on here, but very delicately painted. Nice painting on it. If anybody's been looking for a great jar to make into a table lamp, this is it. This would be a great, you don't have to drill it either. I'm not talking about drilling, punching holes and things, but this would be a beautiful accessory to put in your house. And the size is good. It is, was it 10 inches, right? Yeah, 10 inches tall. Exactly. So it's ideal size. It's got 13 bids. It closes on Tuesday. It's only up to $30. Should bring 300 or 400. This is a nice looking porcelain. And again, if you're looking for a great base to make a table lamp out of, that's it. All right. And then this is a nice looking Quanjon decorated leaf form dish with a deer on it. I don't know why he tipped it. I wonder why he shot it. He shot it on its side. Never understand that. With script. And this appears to be a, there we go. Oh, there it is. Look at the bottom of that. That's a 19th century dish. And this is nice. And 19th century Quanjon wares are very desirable. And this is an interesting form. It's leaf shaped. It's probably 7 or so inches in length, something like that. 6.9 inches in length. Bang. But that's the size that they typically are. I don't know why I know that, but that's what they typically are, 7 or 8 inches in length. But it's a good looking thing, and it should bring a couple of $100 anyway by the time it's done. It closes next Wednesday. It'll be in the newsletter page on Bidamount. And just a quick thing, if you haven't subscribed yet over in Bidamount, you come to bidamount.com, click the weekly newsletter page, and subscribe over here. Do subscribe, because I have people telling me, "Oh, I missed it. I didn't get the thing on the octa." Subscribe. Just send it in. We don't rent your name out. We don't. We have thousands and thousands of names. We don't rent them out to people for any reason. We get asked often. We don't. All right. So if you want to subscribe, go ahead. You don't have to give us your name. Just give us your email address, and you'll get a quick email as soon as the newsletter page is updated every Friday, and then you can. Decide if there's anything on there you want to chase. All right. The other thing, this did well. The Republic dish, I was happy to see this. This was a set of books on Republic period porcelain, and it sold for $268. All of the text in this book, I think, pretty much was all in Chinese, but it had I've seen this set myself. It has had very, very nice examples of Republic ware porcelain. And if you go through a book like this and look what they actually were making in the Republic period, you're going to realize how much stuff that's being sold as Republic period is brand new. It's a great way to detect fakes, because this book is a catalog, their catalog of Republic porcelains of note, and you'll very quickly recognize that a lot of the stuff that they say is Republic isn't, especially in the porcelain area. It's pretty breathtaking. So keep that in mind. All right, so that's about it for the week. There's some sales coming up. A few things are closing next week. We've updated the global pages and the Patreon pages for what's available right now on Live Auctioneers. The Bonhams sale is posted also. We're going to be having the Sotheby's and Christie sales in a couple of weeks. Leave a comment if there's anything you'd like me to talk about on here that we might have missed or something. And subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to join us on Patreon, please do. And have fun over there. So there's lots going on. We're heading into the fall. Hopefully there'll be some good auctions, and we'll see what happens in the coming next 4 months or so. It'll be an interesting thing with all the events going on in the world. It'll be very interesting to see how the art market responds. All right. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.